Morning, everybody. Bear with me as I get my camera mounted up. So, switching up my carry pistol regime, if you will. So what we're looking at today is going to be an unboxing and overview of a gun I've been interested in a while, and just hadn't gotten around to it. You hear me sniffing a lot, so I mentioned one of my other videos. Man, you're sniffing a lot. It's like, yeah, grass right now. The pollen from grass is what I'm really allergic to. It is going crazy. It's not COVID, because I just took a COVID test, and I don't have the Rona. But, yeah, my allergies are just acting up something fierce, which sucks because I'm going to be outside in the yard all day today. So I'm going to be a zombie on allergy medicine, but it is what it is at this time of year. So what did I pick up? I picked up the Shield Plus. So this is a Smith & Wesson striker fired pistol. We'll go over the specs in a moment. And I used to have a Shield. I had a Shield 2.0 with the integrated laser sight. There's this place up in the mountains called Alexander's that used to have just insane deals before COVID. This guy, the owners there would buy literally a pallet of something and just blow them out. So they had at the time a Smith & Wesson Shield 2.0 with the integrated laser in a carrying pouch with a flashlight and a Smith & Wesson branded knife for $249. Shit you not, 4 years ago. It was crazy. Anyway, this is the Shield Plus, which looks and feels pretty much identical, except you feel a tiny difference in the width of the handle, but it's really not by much. So what is it? This is, depending on which mags you use, do a quick safety check. It is a brand new gun out of the box, so, you know, can't imagine they would ship it loaded. But no bullets. What it is it's not a, it's sort of a double stack. I don't know how the engineers have pulled this shit off. Look at how narrow that handle is. That handle is skinny. And yet somehow you can cram 13 plus 1 rounds into it. Somehow that is a double stack mag, as opposed to my HK S30K. Again, empty, no bullets, nothing in the mag. But when you look at the difference in the grip width, I mean, it's really different, depending on get the angle right. It's massively different. So the specs on these, so we'll go over the Smith & Wesson versus the other subcompact I've got, which is the H&K. So the overall, the widest part on this is 1.1 as opposed to 1.37. So about a 1/4 inch difference. That's significant. The Smith & Wesson is 6.1 inches long versus 6.42. So that's 1/2 inch difference. The Smith & Wesson is 20 ounces versus 24. So 4 ounce difference, which is out of 20 ounces for 20%. They both have 10, and then this is the 10 round, and then there's an extended 13 rounder. Same thing here. The 10 rounder sits flush versus the 13 rounder gives you that little bit of an extension. So they're about the same. Both have 3-dot sight systems. Both are not night sights, but they are luminescent. So if you hit them with a flashlight, they'll stay glowing in the dark for a while. This one is hammer fired. This one is striker fired. I mean, that's the biggest difference is striker versus hammer, and way thinner and lighter. I mean, it really is a very thin gun. So another thing that I like about this is it is optics ready, whereas not. Now, I'm not a big optics guy, but at least I would like the option. So with the Shield Plus, this plate right here pops off, and then you can put on, you know, whatever adapter plates and optics you want. Sights are simply dovetailed into the into the slide. You've got cocking serrations on the back and small ones on the front. They've milled off a lot of weight. So the original Shield was like 1/2 ounce heavier, and it only carried like 7 rounds. So they doubled the capacity without adding any weight to it. Again, I don't know how they managed to do that. When this sits in your hand, you've got finger grooves. You can adjust this, the side and the back plates, and that fits really good. That's a very comfortable. You feel like that gun is not going anywhere, but it's a chunky gun. It's small, and it's not terribly heavy for its size. This is more of a nightstand gun. I might carry it from time to time, but this is more of a nightstand or a truck cut type gun where I can have, decent capacity. If I had to stick it in a holster on my belt, I could. But I mean, for EDC, for everyday carry, this is significantly thinner and lighter. It does have a manual safety on this version. You don't have to use it. What I do like is it's a very nice stiff. It's not there's no way you're going to accidentally, and because it's very out of the way, it would be highly unlikely that you would accidentally engage the safety when you don't mean to. But for those that that aren't comfortable carrying with a round in the chamber, that do like that safety, to just click it on and then just make it part of when they draw it and bring it up, you just click it off and get on target. The trigger on this thing is, I think, the biggest selling point. So this is a flat face trigger in the Glock fashion, where you've got your safety. If you were to, again, no mag, empty. If you were to try to push this from the side, won't engage. You have to push it on that, and then it goes. So what you've got is a little bit of take up, but it's nice and smooth. There's no grittiness to it. And as soon as you hit that wall, tiny bit of creep. That'll smooth out over time from everything I've read, but it's an excellent trigger. Reset, not super short, but it's a very nice, crisp trigger that'll smooth out over time. I like it a lot. The mag release is right in the right, I guess I have it right, is right in the right spot. The traction is good. Now, there are no adjustable backspace, so that's the downside. When you have something when you have this that's over here that's wide and a little chunkier, you have the room to machine in or mold in the grooves so you can slide in and out different grip panels. Here on the M&Ps you can. On the Shield you can't. The grip is what it is. It either works for you or it doesn't. I will point out how high this is cut up. So when you grab this, you get your whole hand on there really nice. The texture's just right, but your hand is much more in line with the bore. As to down here, it's somewhat high, but it's not as high, I think. And this is also a heavier, bigger slide. This gun might be snappier, but as far as how much it recoils up, I have a feeling this one might recoil a little worse or more. I mean, it's not like they're going to be bad. So we'll have to see when we get to the range and compare them side by side. Takedown on these things is very simple. Block the slide back, rotate that down, and dry fire and off. That's why you want to empty it. Do a safety check first. Make sure the mag is actually, everything's empty, because you will have to dry fire it, I guess, like a Glock. While I'm in here, I'm going to put a couple drops of synthetic motorcycle oil. That's what I use for lubing the guns. Reason being, it's good oil, sticks to metal well. And you figure if it holds up in an engine that's spinning around, you got, put it in an R6 or something, you got a 16,500 RPM rev limit with explosions going on and all kinds of stuff. If it can hold up in that, I imagine it'll hold up in just about everything. The spring is metal. It is a dual spring, and it is captive. And simply take your barrel out and clean it. Put it back. Click it in. Make sure it's centered. And slide it on. Lock it back. Make sure it works. Very, very nice. The shields are a nice, Smith & Wesson makes a great gun. They always have. The dots are... Now, what's interesting about this is it's like a very pale dot in the back, and it forces you to kind of focus on the orange one up front. I will say they could be brighter, and it could be the lighting in my room. They're not terribly bright, but they are usable. But even though that front one is orange, in there is a glow-in-the-dark pin. So if you hit them with a flashlight, those will actually glow in the dark. They're luminescent. I don't believe they're tritium. They're not night sights, but they will light up at night as soon as you hit them with a flashlight. I don't worry about night sights as much, honestly. I know a lot of people, they're all the rage, you gotta have night sights. But it's like, if you can't see your sights in the dark because it's that dark, you probably can't see your target anyway. And so having an illuminated dot on something that you really can't see, I'm just like, unless you're in the dark, so you can't see this, but they're illuminated by a street light, maybe, because then they're lit, but then you can see, I don't know. I mean, I just don't get that far into it. I'm not that concerned about it. The chances of actually having to use a gun in self-defense are relatively minor. They're relatively light, although it does happen, so I do carry one. If it comes at night sights, great. I'm usually not going to pay the $150 or whatever for a good set of night sights aftermarket. It's just not same thing with the red dot. It adds weight, it adds complexity, it adds another point of failure. I recognize that that's the way of the future, and everyone's jumping on the red dot bandwagon. And I think for a carry gun, I'm just like, it takes a lot of practice to get to the point to where you can see the dot. And honestly, at the defense range that most defensive uses happen at, you're just not that far away. You're basically point shooting. You just look at the front sight and you just basically put it on center of mass and pop a couple rounds until the threat stops. Up close like that, I don't see a red dot being much of an asset. Now, if you're taking a shot at 40 yards, even 25 or 30 yards, a lot of times, if you're trying to shoot at a target, let's say that's, the size of a basketball, well, at 50 yards, when you're looking down the sights, that front sight is going to basically cover that basketball. You're not going to have any kind of precision. And that's where a nice 2 MOA red dot will actually really be nice at range, because you can put the red dot and you're looking through an optic, you can see your target instead of covering it with the front of the gun and going, good enough, and hoping that you hit the target. You should be able to sit there and shoot at, beer cans at 50, 60 yards with a red dot and have a decent amount of success with hitting them. With a set of iron sights where it covers the whole can and you can't really see it, you're going to be shooting in the general direction. And if the can is here, your front sight's like, here's your beer can at 50 yards. Here's your front sight because it's right in front of your face. You're going to get it around that area, but it's going to be hard to pinpoint on it without a red dot. So there is a definite, I'm not dogging red dots. For me, for a carry gun that I want to keep small, light, just idiot proof, I'm gonna stick with irons for now. Now, at some point in my life, maybe my eyesight deteriorates as I get older, and maybe the red dot makes more sense to me. Right now, I can pretty much hit my target at will, with iron sights, and so that's what I'm using. But it's always good to have the option. So if you are buying a gun and you plan to keep it for a while, that's going to be your main carry gun. It's good to always just have the option. Most guns nowadays, if you buy a Glock, you can get the MOS versions. A bunch of the SIGs come that way. Hellcat has the OSP or something that has that. This is theirs. So Taurus has the Toro. Taurus Optic Ready, or I don't know, something like that. But anyway, this is about the Shield Plus. So I like it a lot. I think the trigger, it feels good in your hand. It is slim, but that should conceal really well. I just got to wait on a holster to get here. Went with the Phobos Elite, just like that. I may carry this from time to time. I just wanted an HK. I've never had an HK in my collection. I know that they're wonderful guns, so that's why I got that. But as far as EDC, I'm going to carry my Smith J-frame most of the time, and then I got my LCP Max for pocket carry, 12 plus run rounds of 380. But then to have 13 plus 1, this will take the place of my Glock, my Shadow Systems MR920, or that. This will give me almost the same amount of firepower, but with a really good trigger, and not really giving much up in the way of capacity. If I've got 13 plus 1 in the chamber, that's 14 rounds plus another 10. 23 rounds at 9mm plus P, I can't imagine I would ever be in a situation where I'm running out of firepower with that. So anything but the most extreme, if you're in a shit hit the fan situation, maybe. But if that's the case, this is only going to be a backup to one of my rifles. If I was in a real survival situation, which again, I can't imagine that I ever will be, but if I was, I'm grabbing an AR with a bunch of 40 round mags, and that's going to be my main, weapon. And something like this would just be my backup, you know. If I had to leave the rifle in the car and go somewhere on foot in, you know, without a long gun, then it would be this. But it's a really nice gun. I think it's going to be great to shoot. The shield I had before was great to shoot. This trigger is definitely better. I like that flat trigger. I've been kind of on the fence of like, oh, flat trigger is really necessary, but I don't know. I mean, it feels excellent. It's a great trigger. Nice tactile. You can hear the reset. Yeah, click. That's nice. It's better than any Glock trigger I've ever shot, including my MR920, which has an enhanced trigger in it. So, not bad. So this was $502, but then I got a 2% discount for paying cash. So I can't advertise gun dealers on the channel, but there is a place in Dahlonega, Georgia, that sells gold and pawn. So if you just Google that stuff, you'll figure it out. But honestly, their price on this didn't happen to be really any better than my other favorite place in Gainesville, Georgia, which again, I can't give their website, but it's a Georgia gun store in Gainesville. That's the name. So go ahead and Google that if you want to go up there. Mike and Kelly are really good. Ken's really good. I think his name is Ken, up at the place in Dahlonega. That's where I got both of these, actually, because nobody else had any new HK P30 SKs in stock. So I went back and got this. This will be my carry gun as soon as I get the holster for it. But it feels great in the hand. I think you'll like it. So at this point, I'm probably babbling and making this longer than it needs to be. We went over the dimensions and the specs. It comes with 2 mags, 10 and 13. I would carry it with that and then throw the little guy, the 10 rounder, as a backup in my pocket. And the reason I do that is because I don't think it's going to make that much difference in the printing. And getting that extra pinky on really does make a snappy 9mm more controllable. And it's not like this is pocket size, really. So, you know, having the smaller mag is not really a benefit to me. What I will probably do is get some more of these or just get a pinky extension for that. And so if I wanted to print just a tiny bit less, but then I wanted that pinky on there just to give it that extra bit of control and make it a little more accurate when I shoot, I'm going to look into that. But that is the Shield Plus, an absolute marvel of engineering. And I know you can say, well, there's the P365 is even smaller, and yeah, then you get extended mags and things. But I mean, as far as out of the box, 13+1 in that size it's not that much bigger. It's a little bigger than a P365, but I find that this just fits my hand better. I think I will probably shoot this one better. But the 365 is still probably one of the best EDC pistols of all time. Can't deny that. But I like the Shield. I like the trigger. I like the way it feels. I like the optics ready. I like the capacity. It's a good gun. Anyway, folks, hope you enjoyed. Hit like, subscribe, and we'll see you on the next video. Now I got to move the damn camera out of the thing before I can hit stop. Ooh, in just under 20 minutes.